Let's talk about heritage learners in your language classes. This is especially common in languages such as Spanish that have a lot of students who have grown up hearing or even using the language at home, but don't necessarily have any academic background in having learned the language in school. This creates the situation where sometimes schools don't want to put the students in a higher level class because they don't know the explicit grammar rules. They might know what sounds right or sounds wrong or have a lot of vocabulary, have a lot of cultural knowledge, but they might not be able to pass a grammar test in the way that the school presents it. Or they might have the knowledge, but the school doesn't necessarily have a pathway to put the students in a higher level class and doesn't have a course specifically for heritage learners. So you might have heritage learners in your second language classes, creating a situation that we often refer to as mixed classes. What can we do in these courses to make sure these students feel valued with their own cultural and potentially language experience without making them feel like they are always on the spot being the cultural expert in the classroom, and also without making them feel self-conscious for what they don't know in terms of what tenses are called or how to conjugate every verb or other things that students might have in terms of terminology or maybe more of the explicit grammar knowledge coming from lower level of Spanish classes or language classes. So what can we do about this situation in the classroom? First of all, try not to make them the cultural expert all of the time. Sometimes students may disagree with you about how something is celebrated, or they might disagree with you about the word for something or how they say it in their family, because maybe it is different, or maybe they had sort of baby language as they were growing up, and maybe they don't actually say it the same way as adults in their family, but they don't know that because they never really had that experience getting adult level language in the language that they grew up speaking. This could be that maybe they only spoke the language until they were 5 and started going to school, and then it started getting replaced by English, and so maybe they never really had the opportunity to have those adult level conversations in the language, and so they might actually not be correct about what adults in their family use for certain things, or maybe they are, and it's just not what's in the textbook. So you may have these situations where they might want to be an expert, but they might not always want to be an expert. They might not want to be relied upon for being the cultural representative or the language representative about how they use it in their family. So maybe just be cognizant of that in terms of whether the students want to be the expert and sort of show off with what they know already in your class, or whether they maybe want to take a little more of a backseat and not always be relied upon to be that expert. It could be sometimes one, sometimes the other, but just try to be aware of that. Also, they may be self-conscious about the language that they don't know. There may be things that other students say, how can you not know that, right? You're from Mexico, or your family's from Mexico, or Puerto Rico, or Colombia, and they might be self-conscious about that, especially because of how the other students expect, or maybe other teachers in the past have expected them to already know something that they maybe don't know. So in this case, it's a great opportunity to remind the class that everybody's experience with the language is different, and there may be things that one person is able to produce just like that another is not, irrespective of their background with the language. So this is a good opportunity to make sure the students know that the playing field is even, and that one student doesn't necessarily have an advantage or a disadvantage in the class, that we're all here to work on our language proficiency and our intercultural competence and be able to accomplish certain objectives in using the language by the end of the course, but that doesn't necessarily mean that one student has an advantage or a disadvantage. Hopefully that will help put your heritage and your non-heritage speaking students at ease. If you have any other tips for how to handle the situation of mixed classes with heritage and second language learners, please let us know in the comments. This has been a video of Teaching Solved. You can follow us at Teaching Solved on Instagram and YouTube and other platforms for more of these tips. Thanks so much. Have a great day.